Welcome to another vlog update, and today I'm going to be talking about X-Men Days of Future Past. And yeah, no, talking about a Marvel movie. Even though I'm wearing a Superman t-shirt, I can already feel the nerd rage seeping in. And you know, I'm kind of a big comic nerd, so I thought I would sort of break down the X-Men movie franchise for those of you who don't quite get it. Because I went to watch Wolverine with a friend of mine, and halfway through the movie my friend was like, "Who is this chick that Wolverine keeps talking to?" I'm like, "You've seen X-Men 3, right?" And that's when I realized not everybody has seen the X-Men movie franchise, and sometimes it could be a little bit confusing, especially when the movies from the franchise are not released in sequence. A lot of movies have done this. Star Wars has done this, you know, with the first 3 movies and then the prequel after that. Now they're coming out with Episode 7, which is actually the sequel to the original 3 movies. Then you've got Fast and Furious, because the Japanese guy, Han, you know, only died in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, but he was alive in all the other Fast and Furious movies. Star Trek also did it, although a bit strangely, you know, because it's sort of like an alternate timeline. So you've got this timeline, the original Star Trek timeline, which follows into the Next Generation movies with Patrick Stewart. Then you've got the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, which is in a completely different timeline. You kind of need to know what happens in this timeline a little bit, because Leonard Nimoy is in this timeline as well, but not really. Kinda, sorta. So yeah, it's a little bit weird in that sense. Alternate timeline. X-Men Days of Future Past is also going to feature time travel. Bryan Singer, the original director for X-Men 1 and X2, is going to be back to direct X-Men Days of Future Past. He left the X-Men franchise to direct Superman Returns with Brandon Routh. He also took James Marsden with him. James Marsden played Cyclops, and therefore they killed Cyclops off in X-Men 3. The Last Stand, which I was not very happy about. A lot of comic fans are not happy about all the characters that they killed off in X-Men 3, although it was the most successful X-Men movie, raking in about $450 million US. So yeah, even though a lot of comic fans didn't like it, apparently a lot of moviegoers liked the movie, strangely enough. And you know, the X-Men movies are also not exactly in sequence, because there are a lot of prequels and sequels, and with the time travel it's going to be like a prequel and a sequel together, right? These are the X-Men movies released, but the sequence of their release is X-Men, then you've got X2, then you have X3, X-Men The Last Stand, and then you have Wolverine Origins, and then you have X-Men First Class, and then you have The Wolverine, and next year you're going to have X-Men Days of Future Past. In terms of story, it's not exactly in sequence. It sort of overlaps a little bit as well, because, you know, Wolverine sort of lives forever, right? So the first X-Men movie would actually be Wolverine Origins, because, you know, that's Wolverine came before all of this started, right? And then it sort of overlaps a little bit with X-Men First Class. This happened in the 60s, and then you have X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, The Last Stand, then you have The Wolverine. Now, this is where it gets interesting. X-Men Days of Future Past is going to be a time travel movie. So it's going to be the sequel to The Wolverine, but it's also going to go back in time before X-Men and be the sequel to X-Men First Class. And I guess it's going to start a whole new timeline, and maybe Cyclops will be back. James Marsden is not in the new X-Men movie, so he's not going to be in this movie. But I don't know, maybe he might cameo, maybe he might be played by a different actor, maybe, you know, he might be back in the sequel to that. The sequel to the time travel. So the thing about having a movie that spans about 13, 14 years is that there's going to be a little bit of inconsistencies, which I'm basically going to address. Some stuff that when you watch the series you're like, what? Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about is Wolverine's bone claws. Right. And the fact that Wolverine should not actually have any. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a debate. I had the same debate with Sheldon Cooper just that day. And you're wrong, Wolverine was not born with bone claws.
Dude, you're arguing with a crazy person.
I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested.
But yeah, does Wolverine actually have bone claws? Now, if you actually follow the comic book from back in the day, you'll probably say that no, he doesn't. He does not actually have bone claws. If you watch the animated series, in Season 3, the Savage Land Part 2, Wolverine actually says this when he got to the Savage Land.
Good luck, pal. There's nothing mutant about these. I could use some mutant healing power right about now.
There's nothing mutant about these. So yeah, basically what he's saying is that, you know, only his mutant healing factor is mutant and his claws is not. However, in the movie they changed it, and then they sort of changed it in the comic book. Marvel does this all the time. Yeah, so now in the comic book he does have bone claws. However, originally he does not. It's actually even insinuated in X-Men 2. Stryker says this to him.
You're an animal then. You're an animal now. I just gave you claws.
That's right, I gave you claws. He didn't say I plated your bone claws with adamantium. He said I gave you claws, which basically insinuates that he didn't have claws to begin with. That's a little bit of inconsistency, small inconsistency. Some of the bigger ones are, of course, if you watch X-Men First Class, Mystique and Professor X are like really close. They don't really seem to recognize each other much in the X-Men movie franchise. Maybe Xavier's being all gangster, you know, he's being like, bitch, I don't know you. I don't know, that could be a possibility. Another one I want to ask you is, when exactly does Hank McCoy become the Beast? X-Men First Class, he was already blue and furry, and then when you get to X-Men 2, he's on TV, and he's human again. Okay. When exactly did Charles Xavier lose his ability to walk? This is kind of a big thing. Because if you watch X-Men 3, he's walking when he goes to see Jean Grey, and he's walking again in Wolverine Origins when he goes to get Scott Summers. However, he loses his ability to walk in X-Men First Class, which is in the 60s. So, yeah. When did that happen? Who built Cerebro? If you watch X-Men 1 and X-Men 2, well, you know, Magneto apparently built Cerebro with Professor Charles Xavier. When you watch X-Men First Class in the 60s, Dr. Hank McCoy built Cerebro all by himself. So yeah, why was he not mentioned? It doesn't seem like Magneto and or Professor X did anything with Cerebro at all. So yeah, again, couple of inconsistencies. Dr. Moira McTaggart, apparently she's also a mutant because she doesn't really age much. If she's in X-Men First Class, she looks like this, and then in X-Men 3 she looks like this. Does not really look her age. So yeah, she probably has a little bit of Wolverine healing factor as well. This is another thing that doesn't really make a lot of sense. In Wolverine Origins, apparently Stryker fires adamantium bullets at Wolverine's thick adamantium skull, because only adamantium bullets can penetrate his skull.
Adamantium bullets. Let's see him heal with a few of these through his thick skull.
You can't stop him. Even with that, he'll heal.
His brain may heal, but his memories won't grow back.
However, throughout the film franchise, we learned that adamantium is virtually indestructible. So wouldn't two indestructible things hitting each other just sort of bounce off rather than penetrate? And another thing is that when the bullet actually enters Wolverine's skull, Wolverine will heal, but he will lose his memories because his brain will grow back, but his memories won't. See, why does this seem familiar? Why do I feel like I've seen this somewhere before? Oh, it's because it happened in X-Men 2. Police officers pointing a gun at Wolverine, and apparently he also just happened to be packing adamantium bullets because for some reason his bullets penetrated Wolverine's skull. So I guess this police officer got some tips from Stryker perhaps. A weird thing in this one though, the bullet penetrates Wolverine's adamantium skull somehow, and his body spits it out. It clearly enters his brain. However, this time the brain grows back and he has his memories. He doesn't actually lose any. Why does he lose his memory in this one but not in the other? Regular bullets apparently penetrate Wolverine's skull just as well as adamantium bullets, even though adamantium is supposed to be indestructible. Putting all of that aside, I'm still really looking forward to X-Men Days of Future Past. Trask Industries. It's going to be about Sentinels mainly. And we all know that Tyrion Lannister, aka Peter Dinklage, will be in the movie. So that's, you know, something to look forward to as well. X-Men Days of Future Past coming to your cinema near you in 2014. Catch that. And I am out of here. I'll catch you guys again later. Anyway, please subscribe to my channel right here. Subscribe, ooh, sparkly subscribe button. Yeah, subscribe to the channel and like the video, and I'll be back with another update soon. Ciao.